Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Stephen Melin Live Composing. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. Over the next hour, we're going to be working on the soundtrack for Monster Sanctuary. Now, this is a game that just keeps on going, which is a very good problem for me because that means I have lots of music still to write. And we officially, air quotes, we officially finished this soundtrack about a month ago. Me and Peter Jones, who is my co-composer assistant on this project. And here we are about a month later, and there's a few kind of leftover tracks that we're trying to get in here. Now, I want to make sure that real quick, I hit the start button on my DAW, because last time I didn't, and you couldn't hear what I was playing, which is not good. But welcome. I wanted to get the stream started a few minutes earlier here today so we can really maximize this next hour. And let's give a quick little backstory to what we're working on today. And as always, as you guys pile into the stream here today, please say hi. I love talking with you guys. That's half the reason I do this, so we can have conversations while we work. And I think it's a lot of fun. So today we're working on Abandoned Tower. And this has an interesting story because we are literally on version 9. Version 9, which is kind of insane to me. Hey, good morning, Scott. It is not morning for me. You must be on the west coast of the U.S. I'm over on the east coast, so you are 3 hours behind me. So we're on version 9 of this track. And even though that's a very exhausting thing to say and feel, I'm very pumped because I have finally received the clarification that I needed from the game dev to do this properly today. Now, this is actually the most revisions of any track in this entire soundtrack so far. Like, usually we get this either the first try or the second or third, at most 4 or 5 on some of them. But here we are, version number 9. Now, that sounds extreme. Realistically, this is probably version 5, but when I was going back and forth with the game dev, I tossed out multiple versions at once, which kind of skyrocketed the number. And this particular track, the Abandoned Tower, it has taken quite a lot of communication between us to really figure out the exact tone, the exact mood, and really what the devs are going for. And what's up, Dimmy Deer? Welcome. And this has just been a challenge for me. It's been as a composer, sometimes as musicians, we think we know better than the game developer, but it's just not true. It's okay to slow down and listen to the reference tracks and do your homework so that you don't have this many revisions. I should probably take my own advice, right? But here we are. I now know exactly what it is we need to do to modify this track and to write a new little section for it today. So as we get started here today, let's take a look at the Cubase session and dive into the fun here. So Abandoned Tower version 9. What I want to do is kick things off by simply playing what I already have, and then I'll explain why it's not exactly what the devs want and a couple strategies we might use to tackle this. And I feel like this is going to be really valuable for those of you who write video game music, because it's one of those things that we all have to deal with. Sometimes we have to not even sometimes, most of the time as composers, we have to put our ego on the altar, right? We have to set it aside, listen to the game developer and what their brief actually is, what they actually want. Like, you got to get past that fluff, right? You got to really figure out what the words are that describe the mood and the tone that they want. It's not about us as composers, just diving in there and throwing everything at the kitchen sink at the wall, and hoping, right? You can't base a business off hope. You really have to just do the work. But anyway, let's play what we have so far. Welcome Chance, welcome Rilvanar, welcome Thomas, and all the others that are coming in here. Let's listen to Abandoned Tower version 8, and then we'll talk about how we can improve it. Here we go. All right, and then the track loops from there. And in my mind, at the time of creating version 8 last week, I thought, you know what, this has to be the solution. It has a nice loop at the end. The A and the B section are very different, but kind of fit within that same vibe. And as Dimudir said in the chat, he likes version 8 the best. I'm pretty sure he's been here for all of the versions. Appreciate your support. And he says he really loves the harp, and it gives an Age of Wonders vibe. And obviously I like it. I wrote it, and I felt at the time that was the best solution. However, game devs feel that as of right now, the B section is really what's giving them trouble. So the A section from the very beginning that we wrote this, was either last week or the week before. I'm getting all my dates confused with crazy quarantine time, right? So the previous version, I would say maybe version 5, 6, somewhere in there, the A section has been the same the whole time, which is that oboe line, which is really, really beautiful. Just an A minor. Which, by the way, that's just a Vienna Symphonic Library oboe, which is so good. That's from the Synchronized Epic Orchestra. Let me show you that. The Synchronized Epic Orchestra right there. Really good stuff, like surprisingly good oboe without having to shell out large amounts of money. Anyway, works perfect for this style of game. This retro, almost PS1-esque game. So I feel like from the beginning, the game devs loved the A section, but the B section we've just gone back and forth about what it should feel like. And if you guys remember from, I believe the last time we did a stream, it's probably version 5, something like that, or version 3. I don't even know my versions anymore. But one of the previous versions, we did more of a jazzy minor ninth thing, which I believe we were doing D minor. Let me grab an instrument we can all hear. So it was more of like a D minor 7 to a C sharp minor 9. So it's obviously way darker and a little bit too esoteric. And what I've learned with this particular project is, generally speaking, I have to reel back just a little bit, because my tendency as a composer is to go full force, like minor ninths, 11ths, etc. A little bit jazzy or a little bit more fusion rocky, which is obviously, in my opinion, that's a huge influence from Nobuo Uematsu from Final Fantasy series, and then Yasunori Mitsuda, also from like the Squaresoft, basically, the Chrono Trigger series and all of those games. So I feel like those two worlds are really my bread and butter of style of sound. However, Monster Sanctuary is not trying to be a JRPG. It's more of a Metroidvania. It's more of a Pokemon type of game. It's a monster capture game that in the world, right, it's more of a Metroidvania where you're unlocking things and there's a lot of exploration involved. So it doesn't quite fit to have these extended harmonies. So I've had to really intentionally think about music theory and scale back. Think more pop. Think more 1, 4, 5, 6 as far as the scale goes, right? The chords. And sure enough, as soon as I presented a new B section that was not so extended, as soon as I just used a pretty basic minor chord progression, which is a D minor. You can look at my markers at the top to watch along. So D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G. Right, that's pretty darn standard in a minor key. But because I'm me and I'm heavily influenced by the Uematsu, Mitsuda, and I would even say Koji Kondo from The Legend of Zelda and the Super Mario series, I always like to do that flat major 6, which is Mixolydian or flat Mixolydian mode. Like that's straight up Zelda's Lullaby. Like no denying it. here. Like, I can't deny the influence of that music in my life, and it works. It's a very video gamey sound, kind of blends the best of both worlds. So there's no doubt in my mind that that's why they like it. It really fits the pop vibe of video game zeitgeist. However, here is the problem that they just do not like, and I can get behind this. They just, for whatever reason, they don't like the B section repeating, and maybe it's because of the modulation. Maybe it's too stark to hear it twice. But for whatever reason, they do not want that B section to repeat, which hurts my heart a little bit because I really like that B section and I feel like it does need a repeat. However, I'm not going to win. I'm happy to lose. I can die on the battlefield and not get paid, and that's just dumb, right? Let's please the client. That's the whole point, right? Of being a composer. It's not about my ego and what I think works best. What I want to do is find a solution. So we talked it out quite a bit, and they do not want a repeating B section, but what they do want is a C section, and they suggested two options. They said either do an A, B, C, repeat as the loop, or try A, B, A, C, repeat. That's called a rondo for those who know music theory and you care about form structure, right? A binary form is AB, a ternary form is ABA. Those are both very, very common in video game music, but then a rondo is less common. So it's not typically my default approach because it doesn't usually solve the problem, but it's an A, B, A, C, A, and you could keep going, D, A, E, A, F, A. It's a classical approach. And so I'm going to try it. I want to try writing a C section today and see if we do A, B, A, C with a loop at the end, bringing us back to the A. Maybe that'll solve the problem. I sure hope so. And hey, welcome Rob to the chat, and welcome Scott has a question. When is it appropriate to write some sort of intro to the track? Is there some special scenario where it's okay, or is it something that the devs have the answer? I think in most cases, an intro is actually a very good thing. It's a very positive thing. I don't always use intros, but it is my default. I would rather overwrite and provide too much value that the devs want to chop off than to later have to go back to the session and write an intro. Because at the end of the day, an intro to me in my music, it acts as a space between the A and the B. Because when I write music, I typically do an A and a B. And if I need to fill up 2 minutes of music versus 1 minute of music, which this soundtrack, almost every track is a 2-minute loop, then I'll do A prime, B, B prime. Prime just means you're repeating it with more orchestration. So I do A prime, B, B prime, and then a loop. But the problem is if you do B prime, then loop back to the A, it always, not always, but it usually feels a little bit disjunct, and you need some sort of space to help reintroduce the A section, which is why the intro is such a powerful tool, because it actually allows you to write the least amount of music and get the most mileage out of it. That's just a personal opinion there, but it has worked beautifully in most soundtracks that I've done. Some people don't like them, but in my career, maybe with the exception of 1 or 2 developers didn't want it. Most people like it because it's like, hey, that's an extra cool little thing to add in there. And then before we write some more, Demidir says, the relationship between the A and B reminds me a lot of the ancient forest versus the goblin part of the forest. I'm surprised that this was a problem here. Yep, and I don't think the problem is the B section itself. I think it's the length of the B section and the lack of versatility. They just, for whatever reason, don't like A, B, A, a ternary form. They would much rather have A, B, A, C. So let's try it. Hopefully that was clear. As clear as mud, right? So let's keep the intro, let's keep the A, let's keep the repetition of A. So the challenge here is how full is too full? It's already pretty full and loud. So my my thought, first thing we got to do is solve the length issue. So let's look at our time code down here at the bottom, and we'll see that this is at 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 1 second. So we need to make sure that it's a 2-minute track. So it should say 30:01 when we're done. So let's find that spot. 30:01 is there. So as you can see, we really don't have that much more space. But because they asked, let's get rid of the B prime. And then let's look at our structure here. We have A, B. Now, I would still consider all of this A. I don't know if I should. Let's just get experimental here. And I'm going to make sure, let me actually save this. I'm going to still call this version 8, because I would hate to do all this work today and then they want something from 8 and I don't have it. So let's literally copy and paste everything. Pretty simple to do here in Cubase, really in any DAW. So I'm just going to chop everything up to be a perfect square, so to speak. That way there's nothing hanging out. And then I'm going to take everything, just do a little drag like this. It should be a literal copy and paste as long as I select the first track, the first usable track, and then I'm going to go way down here, probably like there. And then we're going to call this version 9. And look, this is 8. Yeah, that should be organized enough. Making sure the tempo is the same and all that good stuff. I just want to have both to look at. So what that means is I'm going to take the same looper bar and just drag it down. Okay, there it is. Let's put it right there on the bar. And now that should still be a 2-minute looper bar. So right now my time code says 30 minutes and 19 seconds. So I want it to end at 32 minutes, 19 seconds, which is this bar here. So we're going to put 2-minute loop as our section and make sure that this is all in there. Now we can actually do some work. Okay, so for this version, I'm going to experiment with the rondo form. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to certainly try. And the good thing about doing this today is it's an experiment. If it doesn't work, at least we tried it, and we can still show it to the game devs. They might love it, even though I don't, or they might hate it, and then they're kind of forced, in a good way, they're forced to say, okay, fine, version 8, we like it. And then it's kind of a win-win, I think. So here's what we're going to do. See, I'm literally just doing some musical surgery here today, and I want to keep my cymbals. Yeah, that should work. Looks like I forgot to do something here. Okay, so if I have my A section, you just gotta be really, really careful with your selections that you don't like deselect something. So anyway, we're gonna move the A section around, take the B section, and apologies as if this is just dreadfully boring, but you gotta do it. Okay, so that's now A, B. And they wanted the A section again. So I'm going to stick with the A prime because it does have more orchestration inside. And then A, B, A, C. So they just want that B section to go bye-bye. So there it is. So now I don't want to delete my 2-minute loop marker. There we go. So now we're going to call this C. Hopefully you guys are still following me. Call that C. And then theoretically, if everything works out, 32:19 is when the 2-minute loop will end. So let me just get my bearings and see how that even feels to jump between sections like that. I have no idea. Wow. I had no idea that would work so well. Perhaps the devs heard something I didn't. And I am perfectly capable of learning and being wrong. And I think that with music, it's highly subjective, and sometimes there are multiple right answers. But I'm actually really digging that. I think my version worked because it's kind of a tried and true form of, hear something, then arrange it more fully. Hear something new, which is the B section, then arrange it more fully, and then repeat. But I kind of like this whole new form, ABA. So now let's get to a C section and hopefully fill this sucker up, and it'll feel good. And it's really interesting because it's like, now that we had heard the A section once, our ears wanted to hear it again, but by not allowing us to hear it again, when it did come back as the A prime, it's like, whoa, I remember that. And now it's fuller. Now it has this richer orchestration, which is really cool. And I think that this might be a cool solution. I hope it's the solution because I'm done. I'm done with this track. So let's get this thing figured out. So for the C section, now we have to figure out, okay, if this is more like a heroic vibe of moving up of the, D, E, F, G, which direction do I go now? Well, let's start with harp because that seems to be... hard to do on a little keyboard. Anyway, moving on. Had to do it. Ugh. Do a whole harp album, shouldn't I? Harp is a very underused instrument, don't you think? Work for this new section. Chance uses harp for everything. I never use harp, so it's really refreshing. Chance, you might actually really enjoy the 8DO, the cage, not cage. It's the Age stands for something. The Acoustic Grand Ensembles, which Volume 2 is harps. It's a harp ensemble plugin. Super cool. Really, really enjoy using that. It's very Austin Winnery, Abzu, because that's what he did. With this. Noble, you have a good question. I think it's worth tackling real quick. They say, how do you manage to play these game tracks on YouTube? Don't they have content ID? Did you ever get in trouble for this? Nah, I don't think it's an issue at all. Just playing little. Covers on YouTube has been an age-old debate. These companies actually have licensing, right? YouTube actually pays an annual fee to cover all of those licenses so you can do stuff like that. The original copyright owners do have the right to flag your video if they feel like you've infringed upon their rights, by which means YouTube will keep your video up, but there will be no monetization. So on a live stream like this, I very frequently, I do play a lot of tracks as reference tracks or movie clips or whatever. And I do get flagged on those all the time, but it's never like a, hey, we're taking down your video. It's, hey, we noticed YouTube content ID from this resource. Here's the original source. They're very polite about it. They just say, hey, keep your video up, but no, you don't, there's no ad money from this, which is fine for me because live streams are not about necessarily rewatching. Although if you want to rewatch these, go for it. But the view numbers tell the story just fine. I'll get about 100th of view watching on a stream versus a uploaded video. It's just part of the gig, right? So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that at all. Anyway, interesting, Chance. Well, my covers, it's very particular. It's just very particular. I've had, I think, 2 videos removed ever, and they were Final Fantasy covers. But it was when I did like Melodies of Life, which is the main theme of Final Fantasy IX, which is an actual song. So it's not like an instrumental tune. So I think that there are some, certain companies get a little bit more upset. All right, let's write this song, shall we? Not a song, tune. What I'm trying to do is keep the vibe of the A section with the movie. Like that. And hey, Demi dear, thanks for rewatching my streams. You're the one. That might work. Might even just keep the motion going. Yum bum bum bum. What's up, DJ Mag? Yes, you did miss something. You missed 30 minutes of something, so you better rewind. Let's just keep that going. That way it's a more natural loop. A little, not little, but the piano thud, yom bum bum, will help ground that back to the intro. Like that kind of hangs around the A minor quite a bit more than some of these other sections might work. Let's play around with it. I like the whole high string thing. I think it'll work well here. And thanks, Robin. We just got to get the velocity way down. So as of now, that sounds like garbage. What we need to do is take all of the notes from the strings, quantize them to quarter notes, and then take all of the velocities. Essentially, all I did there was I kind of walked around on sixths, which helped to create a nice minor vibe. But I changed it to where it's not just the same chord over and over again. So what I do here, I like to drag my velocity all the way up to 127, which is max for everything, and then bring them all down to the appropriate level. It's better than adjusting the volume. That's so cool to hear, Savannah. Savannah says, I don't make music, but listening to your streams inspires me in my own process of creating artwork. That's so cool. If you ever want to share some artwork here on the channel, let me know. It'd be fun. Interesting. Somehow in all of my moving around of things, I did not copy over any of my synth bell or string pits information. I'm really glad I copied instead of like just starting to delete stuff. So let me get this in. It's going to help fill out the space. That was missing a whole lot of bass information. But now I have to figure out what the heck sections these are. Okay. So let me pop off my face. There we go. So here we are. We have the string pits. So this is the A section. So that's in the right place. Okay, the A prime section, though, it's a little trickier to find. Oy, oy, oy. It's like in the middle of this thingy. There it is. Okay, so this is going to be the A prime section. So let me move that stuff over. There's no way I'm starting over. That's dumb. And then this is probably the B section material. Probably goes in half like that. I think that's it. Should match the timpani anyway. So here's what it sounds like. Now that we have everything solved. String pits helps so much. Solved the math problem. And this is going to work so perfectly. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Okay, let me write this out. Now that I've experimented, I know what to do. So this is an A minor. That's an F. This is a passing tone here. This is a passing G. Put it in. Yay, hooray. That pizzicato is one that we built. So I couldn't even tell you, Robin. Peter and I built our own patches for this soundtrack. Minus the VSL stuff that we've recently added. I really couldn't tell you. So we built our own patches by bit crushing and doing a sample rate, like a deconversion. So when you take something with high quality and then you crush it down and then you like resample it and you turn it into a contact instrument. It's really fancy. I love doing that for Super Nintendo style and like 32-bit PS1 music. That's how they did it back in the day. So you might as well do it that way if you're going to be authentic. So it's not something that you can just go commercially buy. Unless we decide to sell this stuff, which we might. Who knows? I have really considered that, selling my samples, but I just don't know. I just don't know how I feel about that yet. I'm not ready to do it yet. So this would be an E minor, which is unexpected, E minor 7, and then we resolve by going to the A minor. So that solves our problem. However, even though the strings are doing it correctly and the oboe is doing it correctly, the harp is not. So unfortunately, I need to replay the harp, but now I know what I'm doing. Cool. Let's do it. Yay. We're going to finish this in time today. Hip hip hooray. And it's going to be exactly what the devs want. Woohoo! I was literally losing sleep over this, guys. I don't want to be on version 9 of anything in my life. However, that's what it took. Oh, what a cool loop. Because our ears have not resolved the A minor yet, but it just like loops on us and it has this big thud. I think that's going to be really cool. And there we go. We've solved the problem. Using a little bit of math, a little bit of music theory, a little bit of kind of musical gut stuff, a little bit of orchestration. There's a lot of ways to solve musical problems. Just a little quick aside. I do a lot of YouTube videos here, obviously. I posted a video last week called 3 Ways to Finish a Music Track. So if any of you are struggling, maybe you're in a situation like I'm in right this second where you, like a portion of your track has been approved, but you don't know what to do to finish your track. I put 3 really, really good ways that you can finish a track every time. And it has to do with using math, has to do with changing your process, has to do with perhaps trying some different tools or some different music theory. And there's a lot of interesting ways there. So I hope that that's helpful for you. Go pop onto my channel. You'll see that later. Anyway, so I just use like 2 of those techniques right now to solve this, and it clearly works. Robin, you're hilarious. I've tamed the Nightbot. You don't have to worry about that. I'm sure. I mean, every composer has dealt with revising a million times. It's just part of the gig. If you don't like revising, you might have the wrong career choice. Cool. Now I can play the pizzicato and get this sucker rolling. Oh, I love strings so much. I'm a string player, so I'm already very biased towards them, but like I could put strings and piano in every score ever and be fine. I gotta get that motion going much sooner. You know, I just realized I recorded all of that with no click. That's kind of crazy. That's 6 hours of piano a day for, what, like 10 years? And that'll do it to you. Oh, there we go. I mean, I have recorded with metronomes for ages. Ages. Years upon years, like longer than my kids have been alive. I made that joke the other day. They're like, what? Because I have a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, a couple babies. I'm like, you know, I've been playing piano longer than you've been living. That's a weird thing to think about. Like more hours. of that last one, I'll just do an A instead of the E. Otherwise, our ears are expecting a pizzicato A when we repeat, but I don't have one, and I don't want to add one. I think that'll be a good solution there. Let me blend or glue, merge, whatever your DAW is. I'm in Cubase. It's called glue my MIDI tracks together. It can't be too heroic, but I like having this timpani because it kind of gives it that weight. So I am just gonna, I want to play it. I don't like copying and pasting, it's no fun. Too. I would like to do the double bum 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 bum. Ha! Your opening thought, Chance, is that the melody is the same as the opening to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Interesting. Is that true? I have no idea. Like that double dun 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 dun, which means I need to go back and do that for the pits as well. Quick way to do this, just as before, is just to take 100% velocity and then drag it down to where we need it to be. I gotta do the little doubles. I can literally take an 8-bar phrase and I can cut it in half and do 4, 4, 4 by doing a tag at the end to turn what should have just been a normal 8-bar phrase. I'm now turning it into a 12-bar phrase for this C section, and by changing the instrumentation every 4 bars, it'll help to keep it interesting and hopefully make this loop better. So I'm going to add the horns on the second 4 bars, so on bar 5 of the C section. So let's do that. I don't want to do it immediately because it'll be too much of a tonal change. But for example, right up here, when it goes back to the A minor, I guess it's bar 5. That's when I'll add the horns. So let's listen to it and add them in. How do I not have a melody there? That's really funny. How funny. Forgot to finish my melody. It's like the spirit temple, isn't it? And hey, Robin, there's nothing wrong with sounding like someone else. It's a good thing. It's a compliment. You just gotta take that and shape it into your own. Hey, Chance got it. Keep it simple. Got 5 minutes to wrap up. Think we can do it? I think we can do it. Yada, yada. It's just simple enough. Gets the job done functionally. Nothing wrong with simple. Absolutely nothing wrong. It's singable, which is kind of the point. Now let's orchestrate it up real quick. I'm wondering. Well, what I'm trying to do right now is double the melody to make it fuller, where it counts the most. I typically double my melodies when they get fuller with the synth bell that we made. I want to turn the velocity down though. It's pretty loud. Good question from Jamie. How often do I change the instrumentation for my scores? Every time. Every time there's a new score. But this soundtrack needs to sound like itself on every track. So that's why I'm using the same instrument palette. And here's a challenge that it's terrifying, but it's a good challenge for every composer. A listener should be able to recognize your soundtrack within the first 5 seconds. So when you listen to this should sound like Monster Sanctuary. Versus every other soundtrack in the history of existence. Does it work? I think so. That sounds like nothing else I've ever heard. All right, let's get the choir in. This is the most Chrono Trigger thing I'm doing today. I'm now doing the choir up an octave, so it has a bit more punch. And it feels different when it repeats to the A section. So now we gotta add the piano to make it feel full as possible. Challenge. Noble says, is it better to sound in the first 5 seconds like you or the game? I think the game, but you can't really separate those two things. I think both will happen simultaneously. I think I should have the piano in the second half here. Jumps the octave as well, because this chord structure is the inverse, maybe not exactly, but it has an opposite direction of the A section, because the A section goes da, 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 which is A, F, G, A. But this one is A, F, E, A. So it's very subtle, but having that octave difference in the horns, and it looks like in the piano, and since the strings are an octave higher as well, everything's an octave higher, so it has this almost uplifting aura, so that when it loops, it's like it's pulling you back down to the depths. Here's what the loop part sounds like. Let's see if I can sneak any more piano delay in there. So good right there to have that piano delay. It's the hook that gets us back to the A. Yes. Oh, that's so nice, because on the loop you'll hear all the delay. Bum, 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 bum. Obviously you won't get it on the first time through, but that's a really cool solution. Final thing I gotta add are some timpani rolls in between the bars for transition. I think that's it, honestly, just that one. Not nearly as loud. Make an eighth note that carries in, should sound like this. A little too soft. And Chance makes a good point about the Zelda series, how it's been different composers, and it kind of still has the aura, the sound of the series. Yeah. Cool. I think we have solved the whole track. Only thing missing for me is to double the melody somewhere in here. The solution right there, double the melody. Cool. Awesome. It's a really cool addition there. Especially since they added the little scoops in there. Ooh, yeah. Cool. And the final piece here, and we're done, is to double that with the synth cello appropriately. Very signature instruments of Monster Sanctuary. It's way too loud and heavy, but that is the idea. So maybe an octave lower and way less velocity will help. Kind of hear it in the background. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. But hey, we finished the track by doing the form of A, B, A, C. I got to run, but thank you guys for being a part of this stream. As always, join me again on Thursday for more tracks like this, live composing at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you guys then. Let's play out the track, Abandoned Tower version 9. Have a fabulous day. Bye.